split as well. But WYLDE are the underdog factor here today. Do they have what it takes to take it that one step further?
Well, most certainly they do, but it's not a question of will they, it's a question of if they will. And as we get started here on Champions Field in its best of 7, you'd have to say that an opening goal for WYLDE would certainly be a settler to any latent nerves, although then again, they are the underdogs. What nerves need they have? Any game win at this stage is going to be a game win that they will most certainly cherish. And they've already forced a big clearance here from G1 back into blue possession. And quite frankly, I think this possession game, Psycho, going to be all the more important for the Irish-based squad.
Absolutely so. If they can place one foot ahead of the other, just get their spacing and positioning right early on, it's going to prove such a pivotal thing as Chippy is isolated alone at the back. That shot looks a little bit deadly, but it has been pushed away to the side for the time being. And WYLDE do remember from a recent interview, their main man in Billy, the coach, they said they know what it takes to win after his experience coaching Oxygen Esports, but this is slightly too much to handle, it seems.
Mark has gone, Oli is in, but the mission statement remains tiki-taka, whether it's on the ground or up in the air. This squad is synergy incarnate, and Atomic will get our grand final started off with a goal 1 second away from the opening minute eclipsing itself. Bad news for WYLDE. They are 1-0 down early, and certainly from a G1 perspective, they've looked good value for it.
It's a well-worked goal from G1 as well, just sort of hounding that back third of WYLDE, and they didn't really have an evident escape route, and that's what they were so strong with in that previous series, just not leaving any gaps for their opposition to escape from. Hogan mode just really had nothing left to give. That's a nice save from Tempo across though, as G1 almost made it 2 there.
Very scary, and the demo is at least going to relieve a little bit of the pressure, but it's straight into the arms. Most welcoming of Atomic. The attempted fake there, only having absolutely none of it. Runs up the wall and stops the quick counter, although this is very nice from Tempo, the dribble run. Finally stopped in its tracks by Dorito. Chippy not going to beat out 2 players. Although the ball will find its way to the far corner, but that a fantastic clearance once again. Nice from WYLDE. And oh, Chippy, you get that on target. Maybe the opening goal, Psycho, but close and not far enough is not going to be good enough in this grand final scenario.
Not good enough, and that really easily could have been 1 for WYLDE. They're going to be wishing they had that opportunity once again, and there is plenty of time to hunt for it. There's just over half-time left in this first game as Oli does lift this ball high, but Uncle Bill up to the skies, nice and quickly to deal with the threat as Oli is again just trying to cherry-pick downfield, one of those players who you cannot leave any breathing room, because if you give him an inch, he'll take a mile.
Every single time G1 enter the blue half, they do find a demo. Makes their jobs of passing a little easier, and how many times have there been saves off the line in this game alone? G1, the shot quality is high, and the vibes are immaculate. And this is a little bit more of what I'd like to see from WYLDE. Much more workman-like clearance. Got to try and get it over this high press that G1 is attempting to try and set up here. Quite frankly, they don't need to set it up all the time, however, Psycho, because lest we forget, they still hold that 1 goal advantage. Double demo, by the way, as Oli strides forward.
Yeah, and maybe a chance for a double touch off the backboards. It's thrown over to the right-hand side of the field. WYLDE may have just escaped a second goal in this game as Uncle Bill downfield finds Chippy, just lurking. One player that G1 are definitely going to have to keep their eyes on, as he's so often that player just being that disruptive factor, especially with the likes of those demos and bumps and everything, which can really get on the nerves of your opposition there, but still, while with a lot of work to do.
Opportunities going to be few and far between for WYLDE, but they've shown, certainly in the series against Moist in games 1 and 2, they can do it. Their shot conversion is pretty decent for this level, for this tournament, against quality opposition. But the 1 goal lead has to remain, at least in the short term. They simply cannot afford to concede a second. Open their opportunity off the post. Tempo back in, gets it over 1, and it's going to finally find its way home. Billy ties the score.
Uncle Bill has trickled it through after Tempo just lunged at that top left-hand corner. And finally, a fortuitous little dunk spills the way of the coach, and all of that experience and knowledge came in quite handy there.
Quality wins over quantity once again. Wild looking for more, looking for a second, almost finds it. Sorry, my apologies. I always think of Wild in the orange. They're in the blue this time, of course. It's G1 in the orange. They are looking for a second as well, and they're looking mighty close to it. Near post, second touch, Doritos, saucy.
So saucy, and you might as well give him full credit for this, as Wild, regardless of the position they found themselves at the back there is just no saving a finish like that.
Outstanding. And it's the patience on the flip reset that I love in particular. There is no wasted action by this G1 outfit. And just as quickly as Wild found that equalizer, they go behind, although, my goodness, a pacey response. Tempo at it again.
Did you even see that finish happen? Because I'm not sure I caught it. That was instantaneous magic from Tempo. And this is a player on absolute top form. He actually missed a birthday party here today to attend this tournament, and he said, you know what, I'm glad we're doing well today. The form continues.
Most certainly. What an occasion to miss your party for. Birthday celebrations are going to go into overdrive if they manage to find at least one win against G1. I think that'll certainly be more than what most people expect. Most certainly with the form that G1 find themselves in. But Wild, as it stands, taking G1 to overtime in their first game. Well, how about this? Maybe Venom forces the double commit back in. They've got to save it again. Surely away it goes. The pinch at least secures a breath of fresh air. And my goodness, that was so close to Wild. Fully flipping the script, getting a runaway win. And maybe they still can find one here. Billy to the backboard, but no luck on this occasion.
Flip the script, is flipping the odds just as they did in that previous match against Moist Esports. They have come back in this game one. Now looking to really assert their dominance and their agenda in this match, as Atomic is going to take this ball over to some open space on the right-hand side of the field. Chippy waiting alone, submerged, and just wishing that there was just that extra step behind him in support, but it just was not meant to be.
It is one of the most important things that you learn from the transition into casual to professional Rocket League player. You never, ever hit it sideways within your own half, not unless there is a plan thereafter. Billy feeding it into the enemy hands, and with two players, I think one thing that Billy was always mindful of was, oh goodness, is one of them going to head in my direction? Are they looking for a bump? Are they looking for a demo? It delays his thought process. It delays any sort of response. But a strong response from G1 despite a spirited effort from Wild. If there are any doubts about how good Wild are playing today, hopefully that should put them to bed. But if there are also any doubts about how good G1 are playing today, well, you've just seen it there in the first 5 minutes, folks. They can grind out a win.
They know how to grind out a win, and they know how to do it with professionalism as well. And the two goals that Wild put on the board in this game as well, it's fair to say that they were hard-earned finishes as well. We saw the likes of Uncle Bill with that aggression downfield, lurking for those just incredible dunks in front of net, and the likes of those top corner finishes we saw from Tempo. Wild left nothing behind in that game, and G1 still had an extra gear to give.
And one wonders whether they will have even more so to find. I really don't think that we saw the best of G1 on the defensive side of things. Wild had those opportunities. They did really well to fashion them. But I feel like we saw better defending against Hogan mode. And that's going to be very worrying if you are a Wild fan, especially when, within the first 10 seconds, it's yet another advantage going the way of the orange team.
Do you feel the same ominous presence as I do now? Because Dorito, that's the second flip reset double touch he's forged in maybe the last 4 minutes of gameplay.
Uh-oh. Wild needs something to feel good about. And it's got to be better than an equalizer, one would think. They've already had one of those. And Tempo's going to find a demo on the way out of Atomic. This limits their escape trajectory a bit. And it allows Chippy to step in. And he gives it up rather easily. That's Oli. Oli finds Tempo. Steps in here. That's some really nice defending from Atomic. Straight down the other end. Oli doesn't quite get the redirect that he was hoping for. But it's another warning shot across the bow of the good Chip Wild.
Been plenty of those so far, but Uncle Bill's going to throw a warning shot of his own. Maybe an infield pass towards that teammate Central as Chippy That's 50-50 towards Tempo, just ready, prepared and waiting with that 100 boost. We know what this player's capable of. He's gone over to the backboard as well, testing this G1 defense.
Here's Chippy. Sees Tempo, finds him. Tempo with the drop down rather than the hit in field. Oli's move forward, looking for that backboard. It's a save registered for Billy. And finds Chippy. Oh, goodness. Stretching any direction towards the goal mouth, and they find that goal. Tempo looking for a shot as well off the near post, and Atomic to drive this away. That going towards their own net, but Tempo's got that covered.
Got it covered, and Uncle Bill in support in the corner, just buying some time, letting Wild just try and regather some shape and resources as Chippy just punts a ball downfield loosely, trying to hope that G1 just maybe gonna fall a little bit out of shape and out of place as they do so, scampering across to this left-hand side.
Wild certainly looking for the demos, looking for the bumps on the way in and out of rotation. This dangerous. Oh, get away with that, do G1. They sort themselves out before it becomes a real threat. And here's the pop-up from Billy. You can see Chippy there on the far side. Billy's going straight for the backboard, but Dorito's there, covers it well. Tempo, sideways, finds that second touch. Chippy's called off. Tempo wins the challenge, but it's straight back into Orange Hands, although this is a monster run from Chippy. My goodness, Billy throws himself at that. Unfortunately for him, Dorito was in the way.
Tempo not willing to throw himself for that challenge. It could give way for an opportunity for G1 here, but Tempo straight back in the mix with 20 boost to find a dunk in the corner, as that's a whiff in front of the face of net. Not something you expect to see out of G1, and now Oli on the chase, but only goes as far as that halfway mark. Dorito back fourth now, Chippy. Another ball downfield, Tempo testing the waters, throws it back, Chippy on target, but a crucial save there.
It's a big test of G1's resolve. Wild knocking on the door. And it's been barricaded. Has it been barricaded enough? Desperately looking to move up the pitch once again. Billy getting caught on the wall. Oh, Tempo bails him out. He's got the jail key, but Billy's still struggling. Out of boost. Has to take it over to the far side with what little he's got left in the tank. And G1, meanwhile, hoovering up all of the 100 pads. Chippy, this a much-needed clearance, but unfortunately, Psycho, Wild continuing to run out of time.
Definitely running out of time on the clock now, especially if G1 can just keep pushing this ball into the final third and try and keep that rotation on lock, avoid all the unnecessary commits and just buy their time, really, as more seconds burning off the clock. Atomic tries to find a back pass, gets a demo for his efforts running back as well. Tempo with a shooting chance. Is it on target? It's just over the bar. And that could be one of the final opportunities they see.
It's always the fine margin that you've got to find in Rocket League in front of net. If your chances are few and far between, you've got to hit it hard enough to beat the defenders, but you've also got to hit it on target most crucially, and that overcommit. Unfortunately, sells Wild's efforts a little bit too short. It's an easy 2-0, a bit of daylight for G1. They have weathered the storm. Now all they got to do is bring it home.
Bring it home is the name of the game. Uncle Bill is already having other plans. As does the crossbar. Wild are going to be heartbroken by that. There's only a minute left to play, but one goal on the board would have gone such a long distance.
It's the proverbial fourth member of every Rocket League team. And G1's has been paid handsomely. Billy not giving up though. Oh, misses that second touch, and Tempo doesn't get a piece of it either. The counter-attack, this is dangerous. G1 not going to find the third. Chippy on hand to make the save. Quick to the punch here in the midfield. Beats out Oli. Atomic misses. Here's Billy, backboard. Where's the third? Not on time. Atomic throws it away. Back in field again, and Wild, I don't want to say they're ponderous, Psycho, but they're just too slow for the pace which G1 are setting.
Definitely so, and they're trying to work just sort of laterally across the field to find some open spaces. Chippy darts downfield, maybe a touch across to Uncle Bill, who's gone over the crossbar yet again. Unfortunately, that's just been how this game has spelled out for Wild, but you cannot fault their efforts. They're trying to get creative, opening up the space in G1 territory. It's
unbelievable.
It's just putting the goal away.
As the old saying goes, it wouldn't have gone in even if their lives depended on it. And that is a real shame, because when you look at that shot counter as well, 6 shots to 8. Wild creating more of the opportunities, but what we were saying in that previous game, Psycho, it's about the quality of the chances. The quality was there for 90% of the plays in the final third for Wild, but their clinical edge, their shooting boots, they slipped off, and they need to tie them back up again. Otherwise, this series is really going to start to run away from them.
Yeah, and I think even with that game alone, we sort of saw things let slip a tiny bit. It was only towards maybe the final minute of play that we saw some true venom from Wild. And that, to me, may be a sign of concern. Now, this is, of course, a best-of-7 length. There is plenty of time. We saw it in that Moist series as well. When Moist brought those 2 games back, they still had something else to give after Moist Esports displayed an absolute masterclass by their standards. G1 at the moment, these last 2 games have been hard to fault from them. Can Wild do it again?
Plenty of time is definitely the glass half full perspective. Half the series might be over by this point. That's the glass half empty perspective. And for my liking, Wild need to find a win, and they need to find it in game number 3. Therefore, they've got something to work off. Remember, no tactical timeouts here in Rising Stars Odyssey. You get what you're given, and what you're given is a number of 5-minute periods in which to score the most goals. It really does just burn down to that at the end of the day. Defensively, offensively, G1 the superior side. And will they find the opening goal yet again? Well, the good news, at least for Wild fans, is that they have defended a little bit better. In fact, they're going to have the best opportunity here, but Chippy just slightly behind the play, a little bit sluggish to get to that ball first, and G1 once again just looking to ramp up the pressure. The siege mentality is on.
Absolutely so, and LTK Atomic tries to find the backboard tempo. Long ball downfield. Over to this opposite corner now. Chippy through the skies. Can he find an extra touch to wiggle one infield? Not that time around, as we definitely have our eyes firmly planted on players on this G1 side like Dorito for creating those individual pieces of brilliance. Maybe someone like Chippy could be that missing piece to the Wild puzzle yet to be shown.
It's loose. Billy to Atomic. And that's Tempo's offered a free shot. Atomic pops it up. And Dorito serves it wide. Billy back in field, goes for the shot. Big save for Atomic. Up he goes. Chippy. Tempo. It's a double commit, and it's off the line. I honestly think Tempo probably would have had more of the goal to shoot at. Are they going to pay for that miscommunication?
Maybe so, as Uncle Bill downfield. Chippy already through the skies for a dunk, and maybe Tempo can get his mitts on a touch quick enough, but it's already intercepted in the blink of an eye, and almost free room for a counter-attack for G1. Fortunately for Wild, nobody infield on that opposition to put a shot on target here, as now 3 orange players on the left-hand side of the field. A bit of awkward spacing for G1, maybe to give way for a chance here.
But there's no fear. No matter the angle, no matter the location of the player, the pass will always be on for this team. And as long as it works the defense, that's the most important thing for this G1 strategy, because they're working the defense, because they are consistently moving into areas of opportunity. They find the opportunities. It is a natural progression. But we have naturally progressed to the halfway point, and fair play to Wild. The score remains scoreless, rather. the score sheet remains clean. But it's all fair and well having a good defense here. Psycho, but you do need to go down the other end and find a goal yourself.
And maybe this could give way. One such eventuality, but Atomic has other things to say about that, as in the corner he's darted past one.
Oh!
And plenty of boost on the G1 tank to keep the pressure going, but Wild are escaping by just the skin of their teeth. Maybe a corner read from Atomic infield. Oh my goodness, that was on target. That would have been ludicrous, pretty reminiscent of that cash goal we saw earlier. G1 are not messing around. Only another shot on target, blocks away just by Wild.
Literally suffering from anxiety watching this defense creak, groan under the pressure of the G1 assault, but survive the G1 assault they have, and forward they go once again. Chippy, Tempo, the chip. Oh, only has to react fast. Billy waiting, lying, but unable to affect the play in any meaningful way. Tempo has to do well here, doesn't, and that's Atomic with a freebie. Such a shame to see this become the breakthrough goal.
It is a shame, but in other ways as well. G1 have earned this first goal yet again. It was just bound to come at some point after 3 minutes of just unforgiving pressure towards this Wild net. Only 6 shots registered by G1 so far, but it feels so much more than that.
We're in EU, but it's time to throw the Hail Mary if you're Wild. You got 1 minute to change the story. Turn the page. Dorito. There's Oli, back to Dorito, didn't even have a chance to think. Taken out by Chippy. Here's Tempo, looking the most likely to do something, but this defense from G1, anytime it hits the backboard, they've got players in coverage. Time to do something different, Wild.
Absolutely. At the moment, it seems they're just a bit lethargic in their approach. They need to be proactive on the field, push their agenda, really come up with some solutions to get some attack going, because at the moment, look at Oli. He's playing with his food at the moment, and Wild, as much as they're holding on, there's only 30 seconds left to make a difference.
But it's still a 1-goal lead, and as long as that 1-goal advantage remains intact, it's 1 goal that'll be the difference between losing and overtime. A second chance redemption, a brilliant bit of work, but sadly no win on the 50. Nerves of steel from the G1 defense, and Tempo loses control, loses the power that he held in that scenario. Chippy goes back, trying to recycle the play. It's going to fall up. It's going to go down. Dorito, oh, looking for the crazy redirect. Doesn't matter, the 1 goal was enough. Match point for G1, tournament point for G1.
Massive, massive moment there in Game 3 for G1. And yet again, Atomic did work some miracles in terms of that aggression, really putting his team on the front foot. We've seen the likes of Dorito as well with that mechanical prowess deliver just stellar goal after stellar goal. And at the moment, Wild, as much as they're doing a great job of absorbing this G1 pressure, the exit plans are so limited, because the amount of pressure G1 are applying means that the boost numbers are dwindling. It means that there's not an available passing route to actually see the ball out of defense in the first place. And I do believe taking that step forward towards the path of aggression is maybe Wild's last hope, James.
Yeah, you know Wild better than a lot of people here. Of course, you've casted them throughout our LCS this season, and one has to ask, I think that the general perception would be, is this just a skill diff, or is there, I mean, as you say, is the aggression going to be tactically enough to be able to undo the G1 game plan?
I think it absolutely could be. It's just that proactive thought to really get involved, make that difference on an individual level, as it's so easy in these tense grand final situations to huddle up, play that defensive approach. Right here, right now, Wild need to make that extra impact.
Well, it's reverse sweep, or they're going home second place. It's as simple as that for Wild. They've got to start doing something, and it's got to start here. They've been on Champions Field for the entirety of this series. Of course, it's a place where the champions will be crowned. Why not go to Champions Field? But it is going to be an unhappy hunting ground, especially if G1 can find their way through nice and early, but they're not going to find their way through nice and early. In fact, they are going to throw this ball downfield. They're going to find the demo on Oli. Tempo's going to go up, wins the race, but once again, it's a directionless ball. In fact, it heads into orange hands. They're going to throw it back through the corner. There's not enough pace through the corner to head back into the center for a following striker to get the shot.
It looks a little bit difficult to forge these chances, but I really don't mind the approach at the moment from Wild of just hoofing the ball long and see what happens, because it's giving them space to work forwards for future, as Chippy now is going to settle this play down that little bit extra, as Atomic is bested in a 50-50. What has Tempo got left to offer? It's a crossbar down finish, aided by his compatriot in Chippy, and finally, Wild seek their advantage.
They were going to get the rub of the green again eventually, and finally they do. Tempo's going to be aggrieved that he didn't find the goal, but quite frankly, it doesn't matter who scores at this stage, as long as somebody does. That is the first lead the Wild have had since game number 1, quite incredibly. And G1 with work to do, but it's work that they're more than happy to do. Oli lurking. And here's Dorito, the pop-up, the bump from Oli. It's free! It's Atomic! Bomb!
Bomb down towards net. And all hail your king in Dorito with yet another flip reset. That's the 3rd to the tally. And Wild have just been waved goodbye. That bump sent one of those 3rd men from Wild to the moon and back. What a way to destroy their confidence.
Not even 30 seconds, and it's just going to get worse! Atomic going nuclear!
And Oli is going to be responsible ultimately for this goal, and it's just a simple kickoff and a runaway opportunity for Atomic. But G1, they've earned this result so far. Game certainly not over yet, but if you can get those minor details nailed down to an absolute T, who can blame this current result?
WYLDE, they've looked beastly so far in the Rising Stars Odyssey 2nd edition, but quite frankly, they're being tamed. G1 looking like #1, and they certainly are as things stand. It's a 1-goal advantage at a time where they know that they are just moments away from a tournament win. Of course, they were in the 1st edition of Rising Stars Odyssey as well. They hit top 4 there, but I think they're going to do a lot better.
Whoa.
Atomic playing full to the martyr. Everybody completely dismissed. Quite frankly, I'm surprised that they didn't score from that Psycho.
The class was dismissed of the WYLDE defense there, and G1 still couldn't find that 3rd goal, and it is going to give WYLDE that opportunity, that spirit to keep pushing forwards, keep striving for more. They've accomplished so much in this competition so far, besting the likes of Quadrant, besting the likes of Moist Esports, now huddled up at the back. Dying stages of tournament point. It looks dire for WYLDE, but there is still a glimmer of hope.
Chippy to tempo, doesn't matter. Oli snuffs it. Billy up. Atomic snuffs that. The duffel bag is over the head. Where they go next, WYLDE, nobody quite knows. There is at least a demo on Dorito, but once again, it's in their own third. The demos simply have to come in the final third when they're on the attack, when they're recycling the play. If it gets to 3-1, you might as well count this one over. Billy, ponderous, all Dorito pulls out, and here's Atomic, here's Oli, there is number 3!
G1 with 3 games on the board so far and a 3rd goal, which maybe could solidify their victory in this tournament, and that's going to be such a beautiful feeling for this side, which knew they had what it took in the previous RSO, the first of its kind, falling, I do believe, to Vitality in that semi-final. Of course, a giant of their own, but G1 have taken down some of their own here today.
It's a valiant effort from WYLDE. There might yet be more to come, but it would be very much against the run of play should we see another goal, let alone 2. Chippy, flip reset. Oli, outsmarted. Dorito back, taken out. Where's the second striker? Nowhere. Oli forward, looks for the bump on Chippy. We're looking for clips, we're looking for style, we're looking for Reddit fame. Well, there's no fame to be found here for WYLDE unless Chippy can do something spectacular. No, again, their 50 game has abandoned them.
Yes, indeed, and these infield passes are getting desperate from WYLDE just to seek out that one last hope. And G1 have their number, have every single option covered as a pre-jump comes through from Oli. It's actually going to fall to the hands of Chippy. One more touch. Oh, could be a nail in the coffin, but 0 boost. It plagues WYLDE. They've been stuck at the back for so long, and this will be a first tempo. As you can see, that first touch set him up on a path of destruction, and maybe G1 had one eye closed there.
That is the oversight. That is the oversight. Too cheaply given away. Tempo offered a straight run at net. It would have been absurdly poor from him if he hadn't put it on target, if he hadn't scored. 50 seconds. WYLDE with a lifeline. They've simply got to take it. Tempo, the bump, Oli escapes it. Throws it up. Tempo, back to Billy. And it slows down. And it becomes non-threatening. And G1 defuse the situation.
Completely and utterly diffused, and now maybe one last hope for WYLDE here as Uncle Bill takes this ball high. He's got support in Chippy. Over to this back corner as Tempo, eagerly aware of the situation, throwing himself at every play he can get his hands on, and G1 still pressing forward, still making this charge as these seconds tick down. Atomic over to the backboard now. Chippy, one final touch. G1, it's done and dusted. They are your winners, surely. So if this ball can match the floor, it is done. It is job done, James.
And it's back to the garage. It's official. It's rubber stamped. Gamers First are your winners of the 2nd Rising Star Odyssey. And look, G1, WYLDE, tantalizing prospect given their respective forms going into this grand final. But G1, I think, managed the occasion so much better. They weren't styling like we saw against Hogan mode, not most of the time anyway. WYLDE just seemed to reach that glass ceiling and were never able to break through it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. And honestly, commiserations to WYLDE. That was the story of the day, pushing past such formidable foes. But G1, we've always known what they have in the bag. Of course, looking back to the Winter Split Major, they made it. And of course, that is a global feat, not just a European feat in the bubble scene or the professional space. That is a global threat, and they have posed themselves and positioned themselves as an EU team for everyone to watch out for.
Well, we can't quite do a global desk, but we can certainly do an EU, quote-unquote, virtual desk as we bring back Mr. Jar of Jam to the equation. Jam, it's a shame. We never like to see grand finals end in 4-0 fashion, but nobody can say that G1 did not deserve this.
Absolutely. This was their grand final to take, and while WYLDE, they definitely looked on point. Take game number 1. WYLDE is good. G1 just looked better. Game 2, WYLDE outshot their opposition, but it was just everything that WYLDE did. G1 did just a little bit better, and so I don't think there's any doubts that G1 has deserved it based on their performance. 2 sweeps in a row, knowing that they've started the day barely escaping a defeat versus Ambatar in the round of 16. This is a team that just grinded and ended up on top in a very deserving fashion. Yeah, GG's to G1, GG's to WYLDE. I'm pretty sure both of the teams are going to be really happy with their performance, knowing that they've reached the grand finals, knowing what kind of gauntlet they had to go through, Psycho.
Yeah, it was an absolute gauntlet. And just looking back at the run once again that G1 had, of course, in that first series against Ambatacan, that was awfully close, and that could have spelled the downfall of one of our invited teams and ultimate winners in G1, which is proving of how close this competition has been at large, and also that match against 2.5 Men that we saw as well. An absolute thriller to see on stream against a team on top quality. And I do believe competitions like these are what you need to be keeping your eyes on for the future talent of this game. The talents like the players from WYLDE as well, and the run that they had themselves proving, and really just goes to show the world the depth of this European region.
We're EU. Our depth is really insurmountable. We've seen some new faces during this tournament already, and shout out to the likes of C Poppy, Capybara Ing, bringing in some Swiss talent on the board. Everybody around, new names, old names. It's so great to see them. But for today, this is it. We have had a long day. We have seen many games. We've started with 16 teams, whittling down to 8-4, and finally just 2 remain, but only one can reign supreme at the top, and that is G1. They take the lion's share of the $14,000 prize pool, taking home $6,000 for themselves, while WYLDE go away with 3,000. No RLCS points. We are having our own system, but definitely a lot of pride for G1, as they've tried to do the same last time during the first edition of Rising Stars Odyssey, but back then they were not able to reach the grand final just yet. Vitality was their opposition, by the way, so that was pretty tough. But you and everybody else can also participate in Rising Star Odyssey tournaments. Every single tournament has an open qualifier phase where everybody can join, play, and get to the top 12. Those teams move on to the main event together with the 4 invited teams. Next event already in at the start of July. So you got about a month to prepare to get your team ready and try to challenge the best of the best in Europe. We take a big break for the month of August for 2 World Championships, both RLCS as well as Women's Carball World Championship. And we return in September. The dates are on your screen. So July 1st, September 2nd, and September 16th for all 3 of these remaining tournaments. Of course, we're going to be having a main broadcast just like the one you've seen just now. Bravo if you have stayed throughout the whole tournament. Happy to see you here if you just tuned in for some final matches. Always love to see you around. And also, thank you, Ally. Thank you, Psionics. Without their support, this tournament will not be a possibility. Shout out to the draw over at the North American side. James Bott and Rizzo holding the helm for players across the ocean. And of course, thanks to everybody here. The Rocket RB broadcast has been possible by the likes of Relic, Psycho, Bacon, Boyo, Danny Boy, our wonderful producer, Destroyer, our wonderful social media person, Callus. We have been having support from the admin teams, too many to count, but I'm going to shout out John, as he always has been here with a lot of support. Of course, the Rocket Baguettes themselves, folks. Every single time there's going to be a French broadcast as well, right over at twitch.tv/Rocket Baguette. And it's through the efforts of, honestly, hundreds of people. It sounds exactly like that. Hundreds of people that this is possible. Before we say an absolute and ultimate goodbye for tonight, Relic, any last thoughts you're going to be sending us off with?
Oh, got a couple. First of all, next week, remember, Sam Invitational here, live on the Rocket RB English commentary. So if you don't understand Spanish, good news. We've got you covered over here. But also, I really want to emphasize the next 3 Rising Star Odyssey tournaments are going to be so important for the future of the EU scene. We're past the invitationals by that point. You know, we're into the part of the season where a lot of the teams are done. They're finished. And so we're into the real midst of silly season. I would expect a lot of team changes. I'd expect a number of roster changes as everyone tries to find the winning formula for the 23-24 RLCS.
What about you, Psycho? Anything, any pearls of wisdom, anything, just your, not expectations, but your feels about this tournament that has just perspired on our screens?
Well, I think it's exactly in tune with what I was mentioning earlier about these underdog teams, these fresh faces paving their way in the European space, and I'm so thankful for competitions like these, which give those teams an opportunity and a goal to push towards. Of course, looking at the likes of Capybara Inc. that we've seen on this bracket, the likes of CPappy, just teams that have breached through the bubble space through hard work and dedication that we usually see on more minor sort of weekly tournament levels. Really pushing their agenda at the top is such a special thing to see, and to really provide that platform, I'm so thankful an event like this is happening, Jam.
Thank you once again, Psycho, Relic, and everybody else who made this tournament a possibility. That's it for me, Jar of Jam. We will see you next week right here on the Rocket RB. Once again, congratulations to your Rising Stars Odyssey champion, G1. We'll see you.